You know that feeling, right? You're staring at a task, a project, maybe just an email, and you know you should do it, but suddenly a million other things seem way more important. Well, we've all been there. That feeling of being completely stuck is universal. But what if I told you it wasn't some kind of moral failing? What if it's just a bug in our brain's operating system? Today we're going to dive into that because we're going to explore 4 really powerful science-backed tools to help you debug your own brain and, finally get started. It really all boils down to this one super frustrating question. Why is starting something so unbelievably hard? It's that moment of peak resistance, right? Where the pull of doing nothing just feels immense. Figuring out the why behind that feeling is actually the first step to beating it. So here's the deal. The reason starting is so tough is because there's literally a battle going on inside your head. Think of it like a tug of war. On one side, you've got your primitive brain, the limbic system. Its only job is to seek immediate comfort and avoid anything that even hints at being difficult or painful. And on the other side, you have your planner brain, the prefrontal cortex. That's the part that's thinking about your future, your long-term goals, all the good stuff that comes from hard work. Procrastination, that's just what happens when your primitive brain wins that tug of war. So how do we give our planner brain a fighting chance? Well, that's exactly what this is all about. We'll kick things off by understanding why we hate starting in the first place. Then, we're going to gear up with 4 powerful tools: the 5-minute trick, the power of tiny steps, how to engineer your own rewards using dopamine, and how to design your environment for success. By the end of this, you're going to have a full toolkit to fight back. All right, let's start with maybe the simplest, most powerful tool in our entire kit, the 5-minute trick. This is your secret weapon. It's how you're going to sneak past that primitive brain's defenses and just get going. The whole process could not be easier. Seriously. First, just pick that one thing you've been putting off. You know the one. Second, make a deal with yourself. You're only going to work on it for 5 minutes. That's it, just 5. And third, and this is the most important part, you have to give yourself genuine, total permission to stop when that timer dings. The goal here isn't to finish anything, it's literally just to start. So why on earth does this simple little trick work so well? Well, the science behind it is pretty cool. It works because you're bypassing your primitive brain's threat detector. I mean, 5 minutes doesn't sound scary or painful at all, right? But once you begin, this amazing psychological thing called the Zeigarnik effect kicks in. So your brain absolutely hates open loops. It has this nagging, built-in desire to finish what it starts. You'll find that more often than not, once those 5 minutes are up, you'll just keep going. Okay, so the 5-minute trick is perfect for getting the engine started. But what about those tasks that feel so huge, so monumental, that you don't even know where to begin? For those, we need our second tool, the power of tiny steps. Just look at that on the screen. Write a full report. Ugh, even seeing that on a to-do list can make your stomach drop. It's vague, it's massive, and your brain immediately flags it as a major threat. And what does it do? It shuts down. It makes you want to go do anything else. But what if, instead, we took that giant, scary monster of a task and we broke it down into ridiculously small, totally non-threatening steps? So, instead of write a report, your very first task is just open Word. That's it. Task number 2, write the title. Then write the first sentence. See? Each little step is so small, so easy, that your primitive brain doesn't even have time to object. This whole process actually has a name. It's called task atomization, and it is a brilliant way to work with our own internal wiring. Big, vague tasks that create cognitive overload, and they trigger a fear response in a part of our brain called the amygdala. But by atomizing the task, you get rid of the ambiguity, you dial down that perceived threat, and you make it incredibly easy for your planner brain to finally take charge and get that first tiny step done. So our first 2 tools were all about tricking our brain into starting. This third tool, though, this is about training our brain to actually want to start. This is where we become our own reward engineers, and we start using the power of dopamine to our advantage. The protocol is called dopamine stacking, and it's all about creating a really powerful feedback loop in your brain. So, first, you identify the hard thing you need to do. Second, you pick a reward you genuinely enjoy. I mean, something you really look forward to, like watching an episode of your favorite show or listening to a podcast. Third, you do the hard work. And fourth, and this is absolutely critical, immediately after you finish, you get the reward. The timing has to be tight to build that mental connection. Now, you have to be really careful about what kind of dopamine you're using. There's what we could call cheap dopamine. That's the instant gratification stuff, like mindlessly scrolling through social media. If you do that before a task, you actually kill your motivation to do the hard thing. What we're aiming for is earned dopamine. That's the reward that comes after you've put in the effort.
That's the stuff that strengthens the connection in your brain between work and feeling good. The science behind this is just amazing. You are intentionally training your brain's mesolimbic pathway. It's better known as the reward pathway. Every single time you link effort with an immediate reward, you make that neural circuit stronger. And over time, your brain actually starts to associate the effort itself with the anticipation of pleasure, which makes it easier and easier to start hard things in the future. You are literally rewiring your brain for motivation.
Okay, our final tool isn't about fighting a battle inside your head, it's about changing the battlefield itself. This is all about designing your physical and your digital environment to make doing the right thing the easiest possible thing to do. We do this by designing friction. The idea is so simple but so powerful. You want to add friction or difficulty to your bad habits and remove friction from your good habits. So you make procrastination harder. Use an app that blocks distracting websites while you're supposed to be working. And at the same time, you make your desired tasks easier. If you want to go to the gym in the morning, lay out your clothes the night before. You're just lowering the energy it takes to get started. This incredible concept is called choice architecture. You are literally becoming the architect of your own choices. By intentionally setting up your environment, you're giving your planner brain a huge advantage in that daily fight with your primitive brain. You're no longer just relying on pure willpower. You're building a system that makes success the path of least resistance.
So, let's put this all together. You are no longer defenseless in the fight against procrastination. You now have a super versatile science-backed toolkit that you can pull out anytime you need it.
Let's do a quick recap. When the problem is, I just don't feel like starting, you pull out the 5-minute trick, which is powered by the Zeigarnik effect. When the task feels way too big and overwhelming, you use task atomization to reduce that cognitive overload. When you feel like you have absolutely zero motivation, you use dopamine stacking to train your brain's reward pathway. And finally, when you get distracted all the time, you use designing friction and become the choice architect of your own life.
So just remember, procrastination is not a character flaw, it's just a pattern. And now you have the tools to outsmart it, which really only leaves one question. What great thing will you start for just 5 minutes?